some Catholic bishop made that decision, and we've followed it ever since. 1st and 2nd John, definitely from the one who wrote the gospel, John. All the same author, the apostle. It's of that apostle's tradition and heritage, no question. And you start reading the 1st chapter, you'll see how much alike it is to the gospel. He's dealing with some internal church problems here. In the gospel, they're dealing with the problems between the church and Israel, or Judaism. This is dealing more with internal church problems and threats to the church and the faith in the church. And this letter deals more with with the idea of Jesus' return, his second coming. The gospel has what has been called realized eschatology. What that means is, eschatology is the Greek word for last things. Last things experienced now. The kingdom experienced now. The age to come experienced now. Heaven experienced now, here in life. And the gospel says heaven and salvation and the kingdom that is to come and all things that we expect after Jesus' return can be experienced right now in the present moment. That's what the gospel's message is. But it still has an affirmation that Jesus is going to come again. This letter takes up the theme of Jesus' return with more earnestness than the gospel. And here he says, what will be when he appears has not been made known. What he means is, what kind of body are we going to have? What are we going to be like? How will whatever new spiritual body we receive be connected to the body we have now? What will heaven be like? He's saying in very brief and I just think it's as simple terms as you can get. Well, it's not been made known. We don't know what things are going to be like. So what can we know about heaven and Jesus and all that? Well, we know that when he appears, we're going to be like him. We're going to be made just like Jesus. For we shall see him as he is. He will be fully revealed to us. And when he's fully revealed to us, of course, we're going to be conformed to the image of Jesus, completely conformed to him. Now, John says this is the reason for our being. As the author John Stott wrote about this verse and this letter. John Stott is dead now. You read his books, they're wonderful. John Stott wrote, our whole purpose as Christians is to become like Jesus Christ. Our whole aim and purpose is to become like Jesus Christ. How y'all doing with that? How are we all doing with that? I don't know yet. I'm a long ways away yet. I don't have the compassion, the mercy, the love that Jesus had. I don't have it. I get vindictive if somebody hurts me. I find myself angry, wanting revenge, wanting to hurt back. I have to work that through. I don't have the peace of Christ. I still worry about things. I have to work that through. I have to remember each and every day to surrender everything to Jesus, to say today, Jesus, I'm not going to try to make it what I want it to be. Your will be done. I want it to be what you want it to be. I want to follow your will. I still have to do that every day. I still have to surrender in prayer again and again and again. I've been baptized in Jesus now since I was 9 or 10 years old. I forgot the exact year I was baptized. But 9 or 10, on Easter Sunday, I was baptized. Wonderful. Went through pastor's class, got baptized. I've been a baptized Christian. I'm 62, 52 years I've been a baptized Christian. I still have to do that every single day. This is a tough thing to be like Jesus. And part of this stuff is, how do we know what it is to be like Jesus? How do we know what it is to be conformed in the image of Jesus Christ? There's so many opinions out there about what it is to follow Christ faithfully. And we'll hear them all the time. And the writer of John says a couple of things. First of all, we'll know what it is to be conformed in the image of Christ when we no longer want to be conformed in the image of the world. When we are done with that. When we want no more of that. We don't want the world to tell us who we are or validate us. It can't. We don't want others to validate us and tell us who we are, because that's just not the reason for which we are Christian. And we don't even tell ourselves who we are and validate our own selves. A lot of psychotherapy is based on self-validation. When you don't get validation from others, they don't tell you you're okay. Who's going to tell you you're okay? You got to stand up and say, I'm okay. It doesn't matter how loud you shout that. I'm okay. I'm okay. Why? Because I believe I'm okay. Yeah. That's validating? No. Because we're mortal. We're like grass. Today it's alive. Tomorrow it's thrown into the fire. What are we? Who am I? Who am I? I can't shout it loud enough to make myself believe it. Because I did not give myself a life. So no matter how much I shout that, I still realize my life comes as a gift. I cannot anchor it in myself because there is no firm foundation in me in which I can anchor my life. I am not the rock. I am not the firm foundation. I am not even the beginning. And I certainly am not the end. I have no idea when my end comes. I am not able to validate myself. And John writes in the 2nd chapter, when you stop wanting to be validated in yourself, by yourself, and wanting to be validated by the world, and are ready to be validated by becoming like Jesus Christ, and letting Him be the model for your life, then you realize who is the rock and the foundation and the one who is to lead and guide your life, and the one for whom you live and love, and where you're going, and why you're here, where you're going, and what's going to happen. And all those things become clear in that. So first you have to decide, I'm done with being validated by others, and I'm trying to validate myself. I want to be validated as a person who has surrendered his life completely to Jesus Christ. And that's where it starts. And the second thing you got to do, in order to understand what Jesus says, he makes it pretty simple. He says Jesus is all about love. He's light and love. And if you say you're in Jesus Christ and you're following Jesus Christ, then you do everything you can to love like Jesus Christ. That's what it's all about. To love like Jesus. If you're loving like Jesus, you're following Jesus. And I know I don't do that, but I struggle with that. And my humanness wants to judge, blame, be self-righteous, vindictive, jealous, all those things. I wrestle with them, as you do too. But loving like Jesus is how we become like Jesus, says John. He who says he loves God, but he does not love his brother or sister is a liar. He's pretty bold about this. He says, you don't love your brother or sister, and you say you love Jesus Christ, you're lying. You're condemning somebody in this world and saying, God doesn't like you, and yet you're saying you're following Jesus Christ. The truth is not in you. He says it. Read that. Very short little letter. It doesn't take long to read it. It says it not once, but over and over and over again. You cannot say, I'm following Jesus Christ, I want to be like Jesus Christ, I'm living in Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ is living in me, but I can't stand my brother or sister. The minute you say that, you're lying. And the truth is not in you. Because he who says he cannot love his brother and sister whom he has seen, but he loves God whom he has not seen, is not telling the truth. It says that over and over again. So the two things, you got to want to be in Jesus, you got to want to love like Jesus. When you love like Jesus, then Jesus is in you. Out of this last week, we all know about the decision the Supreme Court made. I don't know how you feel about it. There were two decisions this week, and you know which one I'm talking about. The first one, healthcare. Second one, gay marriage. Christian leaders came out and made some statements. They said, by the way, I'm a homophobic person. I've had a lot of problems with homosexuality. Not myself, I just have a lot of trouble relating to homosexual persons. That's what I'm saying. It's just been really difficult for me. I've never done a gay marriage, and I've been asked by my wife and others. I'll just be honest with you, I've been asked. I had some friends have a gay daughter. They said if she wants to get married, would you marry her? At one point I said, no, I can't do it. I won't do it. God's been dealing with me. But anyway, it came out this last weekend. Two Christian leaders, I don't need to name them, said virtually the same thing. The Bible is God's rules, and God's rules, plural, are unchanging. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. They're both wrong. Rules have changed all the time. They quoted what many people think is in the Bible. God's law is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's not in the Bible. It never says that anywhere. The Old Testament endorses slavery. It was very difficult for those who were abolitionists to say slavery is against the will of God because it's in the Bible. The rules changed. Even Paul endorsed slavery in the New Testament. But still there were those who got up and said, as Christian people, we believe slavery to be an evil institution and wrong. And they said it in the name of Jesus Christ. How could they say it? Because it says right in the Bible, slavery is okay. How could they? Because the rules changed. Jesus himself changed the rules. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you. That was the principle of lex talionis. Lex talionis was a merciful principle. When God established it for the Old Testament times, it was an act of mercy. The punishment for a crime cannot exact more than the crime. An eye for an eye. You put out somebody's eye, it doesn't mean that they can kill you. All those who say, I'm defending my property with my gun, if somebody comes in to steal your property, it doesn't mean you can kill them. I mean, that's eye for an eye. That's a merciful principle. And that's in the Old Testament. And Jesus says, you've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The punishment cannot exact more than the crime. But I say to you, if someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to the other. Someone forces you to go 1 mile, you go 2. In other words, you cannot, I'm saying to you, in the kingdom of God, you do not even exact what is due in the name of love. He did that with practically everything. Read those first chapters of the Gospel of Matthew. You've heard that it said, do not be angry do not hate your brother, do not kill, because then you're going to be liable to hell. I say to you, whoever's angry with his brother. He changed the rules over and over and over again. The Bible does not say the law of God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. What does it say? It says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's what it says. Jesus is the same. And if you want to know what God wants, you've got to get close to Jesus. And you've got to love like Jesus. That's what it's saying. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm just taking issue with the idea that the Bible is a rule book that we follow. It's easier, and that's why those who say that are very popular, because it's easier if we turn this into a rule book. It's easier if you got a list of rules. I do number 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's right, this right, this right, this right. And if I follow all those rules, then I'm living in Jesus. No, you're not. You're following rules. Jesus says, throw away the rules. I want a relationship. You ever have do you have somebody in your family that's addicted to their phone? Yeah. They're on their phone all the time? What do you want to say to them? Would you throw that phone away? I want to talk to you. I want to relate to you. Put the phone down and nobody gets hurt. Turn it off. I want to have a relationship with you. I think that's what God says to us. He says, put that rule book down. Let's talk. Stop concentrating on those rules. Let me love you and show you how to love. That's what Jesus is saying. And I think that's the way it is. The rules are changing. And they were. Jesus himself changed them. Paul changed them. Did you know that Paul changed the rules? You know what marriage was in the Old Testament? What do the 10 Commandments say about marriage? Paul changed that. He did. He changed the 10 Commandments. Well, not him alone. The early Christian church did. They changed the rules about what you can eat. Do you know that in the Old Testament, it's an abomination to eat catfish or shrimp or lobster? The Lord finds that abominable? Really? How many of you eat shrimp, lobster, or catfish? Not on a regular basis, not, I guarantee you. But anyway, I've eaten any of those things. Did you know the Lord found that to be an abomination? In Leviticus, same place it says, if a man lays with a man, it's an abomination to the Lord. If you eat catfish, it's an abomination to the Lord. Well, Paul changed that rule. He changed that rule about eating catfish. Peter and Paul and all of them, they did it. And the reason it was an abomination to the Lord then, and this is what I believe, is that they understood the minute they started eating scavengers, just like you, pork. Eating pork is an abomination to the Lord. What is a pig? It's a scavenger. What will a pig eat? A pig will be a carnivore. They'll eat dead flesh, just like other scavengers. Shrimp, lobster, catfish, all of them, they're bottom feeders. They'll feed off of dead flesh and they'll scavenge at the bottom of the ocean. And they found out that scavengers, if not properly cooked, could pass diseases on, just like trichinosis and other things like that. And they started to realize that these diseases came from eating these scavenger flesh. And so they said, no, this is an abomination. We can't do this. People die. People get sick. I think that's how that all happened. And you know, kosher laws are really good laws. There's nothing wrong with them. In fact, if you eat kosher, you're eating pretty doggone healthy. If you eat the way God talks about doing it in the Old Testament, that's a really healthy way of living and being. But the church changed that, said no longer is it necessary. What I have created, how dare you call clean and unclean? Peter had that vision. And the church started eating pork. They changed the rules. Paul changed the rule about marriage. In the Old Testament times, what was a woman? She was a chattel. She was a piece of property. What do the commandments say? You shall not covet your neighbor's donkey or his wife. Okay. Marriages were for procreation, for progeny. They were political or they were economic. They were not for love. A woman was a piece of property transferred from her father to her husband. Who gives this woman to be married to this man? Property. What do you give along with her? What's her dowry? What's her dowry price? The whole New Testament changed all that. The church changed that. They said, that's not it. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, is a God, our claiming symbol. And then Paul wrote in Ephesians, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. She is no longer just a piece of property or a means to your end. She is a person for whom Christ died. I'm changing the rules. How do we know what it is to be like Jesus? We gotta want to be like Jesus. And we gotta have a relationship with him. And we gotta love like he loved. That's it.